Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Tyrone back with Tech Life. And on screen is a placeholder from an older article from Light Reading. I will leave a link to it in the description for those of you who may have not seen it. So, CTIA urges for auction of 3.1 3.5 and 6 gigahertz bands. So, even now that we're in this article's from 2020, actually right before T-Mobile closed the merger with Sprint. And even now in 2024, now that all the carriers have somewhat a good spectrum position, they're looking to monetize. We're already hearing talks, okay, we need more spectrum auctions in the coming months and years, perhaps, right? So T-Mobile right now, looking at their spectrum position, if we had another spectrum auction, say, within the next 12 to 24 months, would T-Mobile, given its current spectrum position, even be allowed to participate? You got to think T-Mobile has, even though they have fragmentation issues, some 2.5 issues, they have a lot of spectrum. Now, after closing, finally being able to deploy the Auction 108 2.5 holdings and all of the AWS and PCS that they now have, all the PCS that they retained from the Sprint merger, all the 600 that they've had and getting more, right? They're getting that. They got more from Comcast. They bought some from Columbia Capital. And then they were able to participate in the C-band and the DoD auction. Although those holdings aren't nationwide, well, C-band will be considered nationwide because they got it across 225 million pops, but they didn't get it in every inch of the country. So will they be allowed to add more bandwidth on top of what they already have? That's going to be a big question from the FCC. And who's going to complain? Who's going to complain about T-Mobile being allowed to participate? My guess, it'll be AT&T because they've been very consistent in their complaints. So they've been complaining fairly frequently and consistently. So it probably will be AT&T that will complain if T-Mobile is allowed to participate. And we got to take it for what it is. T-Mobile is pulling in this year a guided free cash flow of $16 to $18 billion. So they could very well compete at this auction and significantly drive up pricing. Even if they don't get any of the bandwidth or any of the licenses, I should say, they can significantly drive up pricing for AT&T and Verizon. And in the process, they might be able to secure a couple of licenses to strengthen their portfolio. So what do you guys think the FCC will rule? What kind of ruling will they put out? What kind of rules for the auction? Will they let T-Mobile just compete at free will? Will they enforce like, hey, you can only get 20 or 40 megahertz in this auction? I'm asking you guys because it's going to be very interesting to see. And even if this auction doesn't happen for another 12 months or in another 24 months, T-Mobile's free cash flow portfolio will be even stronger then. Cash on hand will be stronger. Their net profits will be stronger. Their margins will have increased. So at that point, they'll probably be able to compete with the best of them as it comes to these types of auctions. And if there's no restrictions on these auctions and it's a bidding auction, I mean, it'll turn into a bidding war at that point, especially with a much stronger balance sheet from T-Mobile that's entering the auction. I mean, T-Mobile will be at that point, they will have much higher credit ratings than they already do. They will be able to go to the debt market. They'll be able to have much stronger cash on hand, as I mentioned. So they will be ready to go for these next auctions coming up. The one company that's going to suffer greatly is going to be Dish. Dish is not going to have a strong enough balance sheet to defend itself against the big three, right? AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. They just won't be able to participate much. So Dish will have to work with what they got for quite some time if they're able to survive and really monetize and fill up the capacity they have on air now. They haven't been able to do that. So they likely wouldn't participate anyway, and they wouldn't be able to put a dent as it comes to competing at these auctions against Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile anyway. So will T-Mobile be allowed to participate in these next auctions for these spectrum frequencies? I would assume they would be. allowed, because at that point we're already transitioning to 5G advanced, and then eventually we will get to some type of 6G, even if that's a little beyond 2030. But all of that will be fueled by more spectrum needed. And then the FWA case. If the FCC is recognizing that, hey, look, there's really new broadband competition, and it's serious competition, it's actually driving prices lower perhaps, then they have to give those carriers more spectrum to effectively compete for more home broadband customers. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe if you're new. Follow my social media outlets. This is Tyrone with Tech Live. See y'all in the next one. Peace.